all the streams on Facebook, Twitter. What else are we on? Not Rumble yet, but YouTube, and soon to be, as once I launch it right now, TikTok. I want to wish all of you a very, very, not a Merry Christmas, because we already had that, but a very Happy New Year, and all the best in 2023. 2023, I'm pretty sure, is going to be an amazing year. I've maybe utilized the hashtag Stay Free in 2023. So we sent a message to the political class around the world that nobody's going to lock us down ever again. And that's the big lessons from 2022. So Happy New Year to all of you. And I wish all of you and your friends and your families healthy and prosperous lives for 2023 and beyond. And I do wish you all the best and send you as much love as possible. I hope you're all well. Okay, everybody's popping in already. Let me just set that up and post that to Bridget. I don't know how you guys do this TikTok thing. Like, it's making me crazy. And we're going to talk about TikTok on another episode sometime soon, but it is what it is. Good morning, Jesse. Betty White is here. Betty White was trending on Twitter, so congratulations, Betty White, because I woke up at 3 in the morning last night to see Betty White was in the news, and I don't even remember the reason. I was half asleep when I saw, but congratulations to you. And Bridget, good morning. Nisha, good morning as well. Dennis, everybody's Denise here. Everybody's here. That's pretty awesome. So I hope you've all had an amazing week, and I hope you have an amazing weekend. I hope you have plans for New Year's. Tell me what your New Year's plans are. I'm interested. I'll read it out in the comments. This week, a podcast was released. My interview, or part one of my interview with Rupa Subramania, who was the lone freelance journalist for mainstream media that was invited to our press conferences, just because she came recommended as highly credible, not politicized, doesn't really care about political parties or what her editors tell her. She's going to just tell the truth, and she did. And I thank her so much for that. I'm indebted to her for, at least she did that, right? Nobody else did, but she did. It was, I shouldn't say nobody else, but few else did. And you all know my gripes with Rebel News. So trending on Twitter was WEF Puppet, which I thought was great. Good morning, K9. And the other thing that was trending was F Trudeau flags. It's brilliant. It's amazing. And you gotta, Bridget and everybody who was there, who was part of this, and I know Tamara and everybody else feels the same way. I know Chris feels the same way too. It's a wonderful feeling to know that we all still, to this day, live rent-free in the minds of far leftist extremists and communists. That they can't shake it. They just can't get rid of us. And they won't. And we're going to make sure we're going to leverage that into 2023. But that's a whole other strategy that's going on. Just tied to that, should I talk about the CPC election strategy and why they're already doomed to fail if they do this stupid strategy for a third time in a row? Should I? Because I can give some insight into what they do, voting blocks, how they position people around, how they leverage other parties and leverage ridings and all that sort of stuff. If you want, I can do an episode. Betty White got a hotel in downtown Toronto with one of my best friends, and we're going out on the town. All right, is it Blanche or Sophia? Like, who is it you're going out with? The interview with Rupa was so good. Great job. I don't know. Didn't you think I was a little flat? I don't know. It could have been. Lisa, I love the Trudeau flags. Yeah, and the thing that was amazing about the Trudeau flags is that was kind of the unifying phrase that brought people from Alberta and Quebec together, because everybody understood that. There was no language barrier with that flag, and it was quite amazing. Unfortunately, there's some people in the political class who still don't understand human behavior and what motivates people and why they were motivated behind to support the Freedom Convoy. But anyways, I put out a tweet yesterday. I'm going to get into the top 10 list of the Freedom Convoy because I want to know what you guys think and what your preferred outcomes or, situations that happened during the convoy. But I put out a tweet just to remind everybody, people in the Bitcoin space, it was that tweet of Ted Cruz, his response to the Ontario Superior Court with regards to Nunchuck. And my tweet said, and I'm surprised how many people didn't pick up on this when it happened, but I was so busy with other things I couldn't deal with this. But I put, does everyone remember the moment when from Freedom Convoy, when Ted Cruz told Doug Ford to go fuck himself? Because that's exactly what happened, right? Tried to deflect to Justin Trudeau, but he was talking about Doug Ford. Why? Because, as I put, continuing the tweet, the Ontario Provincial Court is administered by Doug Ford's administration, not the government of Justin Trudeau. And it was Doug Ford who sought the injunction to block your donations to the Freedom Convoy. That wasn't Trudeau. Trudeau did a whole bunch of other really bad stuff. But that was, let's be honest, they were working together the entire time. We saw that during the commission. When we saw the email communications from right-winger Justin Trudeau to Doug Ford. Hey, Doug, how are you, pal? They're buddy-buddy. It's so funny. People in politics are such dipshits. So, anyways, sorry, I won't be so feisty today, I promise. Bridget, I hope we all vote independent this time. It would send a message. Well, that's not really practical, but there's other things we can do. There's definitely ways we can kind of influence where things go. Can't send PPCs, so where do we vote? Yeah, that's kind of the problem too. So it's a little bit more. What's it called? It's a little more strategic of what can be done, but we're still not in election time. We'll talk. What we need to get is more and more people together. So we got to prevent the political class to use their proxies like Rebel Media and all these other organizations to kind of divide everybody and put them into the, Justin Trudeau bad, conservatives good camp and get people around the whole Freedom Convoy. Freedom, no masks, no mandates ever, no data tracking, no ID ever into our camp. And the political parties can follow us. And that's how you kind of invoke change. But we'll talk more about that in the future in terms of strategies. I don't know if there's enough time because if we have an election in the spring, that's really coming down to crunch time. But anyways, there's so much more we can do. I'm stuck in the house with a doggo recovering from surgery. What happened, man? You all right? Anything serious? I hope it's not something all that bad. Some of you who have been watching know I went through some stuff. Well, I didn't went through. My very good friend and family friends went through some stuff this week, which I may or may not talk about that towards the end. But let's get to one thing at a time. On locals, yes, election strategy overview would be interesting. You know what the problem is with election strategies, though, is when you explain it to people who don't know, who have not been part of politics, they just respond with, oh, that sounds like a conspiracy theory. No, it's political strategy. That's just how the system and the process works on the inside, right? So that's why I'm always hesitant to talk about stuff, because people just kind of, it's very complex and it gets very in the weeds, and then people kind of, tune out. But I don't know. I'll see if I can figure out a simple way to discuss it. When he called the convoy Trudeau's truck stop, I nearly choked on my coffee. Finally, somebody. The truckers got it. Every time we got on stage on Sunday, I made sure to welcome everybody to Trudeau's truck stop. So, I think the truckers understood that, but I didn't realize regular people got it. And maybe that's what the next one, if we do anything ever again, that's what it's going to be. We'll label it as Trudeau's truck stop. But anyways, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Amanda. Thank you. I had a growth removed from the inside of my eye, hoping it's not cancerous. Oy, that's crappy. I hope you're all well, man. Let me know. Let me know how things go. We're all behind you. Jesse just said, thoughts and prayers are with you. That's all of us. Don't worry. We'll talk about this more and more. Just kind of keep me up to date. Let me know how things are going. and we're there for you, man. You're not alone, I promise. You got a whole, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that supported the convoy who are there for you as well. So you don't have to feel alone, I promise you, man. All right, so top 10 Freedom Convoy stories. So I kind of just did this. It took about an hour to do it. I want to refine this because I may do a video about this, like a produced video about this in the near future, but I kind of wanted to get your thoughts and see what you think and if you agree and all that sort of stuff. And just to get your input because you'll be a great help. Bridget says, I loved the Sun headline calling us truck us. Calling us truck us? What does that mean? Is that I'm confused. Is it a typo? I mean, listen, the Sun also ran the story that the guy who was supposed to be negotiating on our behalf ran a story. He penned an op-ed in, I think it was the Sun, saying he doesn't support the truckers. Yeah. Then a week later, he's coming and negotiating us about a deal. Fucking assholes. They're such liars. And the fact that they would lie like that under oath in a commission, like, really, you don't think that's going to destroy you over the long term? Like, they don't understand. The internet never forgets. That is there forever. We're causing... okay. Oh, we're causing a truckus. Ruckus. I don't know. It's kind of... It's not quite as bad as just inflation, but it's pretty bad. People in political marketing are just... They're awful. There are people who can never get any job in any sort of marketing firm or run any sort of campaign that's successful. That's why all they do is lose elections. Just inflation, but yeah. Truck us K9. All right, you guys. All right, you're all hanging out and loving each other. I love it. I love that you guys are all finding each other in the chat as well. That's great. All right, so number 10, and tell me what you think. The number 10 is. I wish I had a way to kind of put it on the screen, but anyways, in December of 2021, I believe it was December. It was about a month before. Quebec and Ontario reintroduced hard lockdowns in 2021. Number 9 of the top stories from Freedom Convoy is the beginning of the Freedom Convoy, which Bridget played a large part in with Chris Barber and Colin and a whole bunch of people. All right. Number 8. You're not going to forget this. I don't forget this. Give, Send, Go canceled the $10 million when we hit $10.1 million when they finally canceled the money. And then they said, we're going to take the money and give it to charities of our choice. Oh, so they're going to launder more money to Black Lives Matter, or maybe they'll hold on to it and wait for it for Ukraine or something like that, right? But then Florida man Ron DeSantis stepped in and in a press conference said, that sounds like criminal fraud. I think we're going to have to investigate Give, Send, Go in the state of Florida. And God bless him. And then Give, Send, Go responded like, no, it's okay. We'll give it back to the donors. It would be nice if they kind of like gave it to the recipients as it was intended. But what sort of craziness am I thinking about, right? And Beth says, I saw a video, not sure which one and when, that called out Truckistan. I thought it was equally funny as Trudeau's truck stop. Yeah, I think that was Daniel Boardman or the people around him or the National Telegraph or something like that they had something to do with it. That was, you're right. GoFundMe, not Give, Send, Go. Thank you very much. So GoFundMe is when Ron DeSantis. I apologize to Jacob and Give, Send, Go. You got screwed another way. But it's GoFundMe that had their $10 million, the $10 million of donations was canceled and Ron DeSantis stepped in. All right. Number 7. Doug Ford sought an injunction to block donations from Give, Send, Go. There's the Give, Send, Go. And that was when we were approximately... If I remember, we were at $9 million. And that was within, I think, 2 days, 2 or 3 days. we had $4.5 million the first day. In the first day, 12 hours, I think it was. Again, I kept getting information thrown at me from so many people all at once. Despite the fact that some shit rats in politics are saying, "Oh, he wasn't there the whole time." You're fucking assholes. Like, they were chasing me. Anyways, whatever. Do I seem salty? I'm not salty because you know what? Revenge is a dish best served cold. But anyways, that we'll get to that at some point. Maybe in 2023, we'll see. Number 6, Justin Trudeau introduced Canada's version of martial law because some trucks were violating a city bylaw by how they were parked. So we brought in Canada's equivalent of martial law, the Emergency Measures Act, because of where trucks were parked. All right. This is why I said on, I think it was on the Hill interview and a couple of others, the Hill interview a few weeks ago. I explained that our political class is so incompetent that they're dangerous. And, well, there's a good example. Canada's equivalent of martial law for trucks. Idiots. Kiss Junkie, finally able to connect technology. Well, yeah, listen, I just spent the whole past few days when I had time dealing with my whole automation infrastructure, which is like 60% finished. So, yeah, I completely understand. All right, number 5. The political class and political fixers sabotage the convoy. Rebel News still puts them on their channels. I don't know who's paying for that, but somebody's paying for it. And there's, I think I know who it is. But, so yeah, those were, when I mentioned before, Doug Ford's former chief of staff and still good friend showed up in Ottawa after penning an article that he doesn't support the truckers. Him, Tom Marazzo, meet with the city without telling us to say, yeah, we're here to negotiate the trucks, and how can we help you move them out of the way? Basically, is what they were doing. But anyways, it is what it is. Hold on, a couple of comments here. And Gibson was saying they wanted to give. That was yes. Okay, Betty White. I will clarify that point. Yes, and it was not Give, Send, Go that said they wanted to give money to the charity of their choice. It was GoFundMe. Yes, make sure that's abundantly clear. We're trying to hit GoFundMe in the balls, not Give, Send, Go, right? Because GoFundMe are just, anyways, it is what it is. What I don't understand about the whole thing is why the world sees Trudeau for what he is, but Canadians are still trusting him. I can tell you from somebody who's traveled all over the world, and you know this when you go to a country and you live there for extended period of time and all that sort of stuff, and you meet people from all over the world. Canadians are some of the most naive people you'll ever meet. That's just the way it is. And I think that comes from it being so safe here, that people don't need to have their wits about them. They don't need to have their street smarts. Like, I'll give an example. When I went to Colombia, not the last time, the time before, which is just before COVID, my buddy picks me up at the airport, and we're catching up, and hey, mate, what's up if you're watching? And what's it called? Yeah, from Diverge Media. Come on, Ben. We weren't seeing the big picture like Keith said. Yeah, the big picture. Move all the trucks so they can get kettled easily and everybody can get arrested. There's the big picture. So anyways, talking about Canadians being naive. And by the way, there are some exceptions for that. Exceptions would be people in rural Alberta, in rural Saskatchewan, northern BC, rural Manitoba, Quebec outside of the cities. A lot of the rural areas, you're going to see... you're not going to see the same naivete that you see within the cities. But every time I've traveled to a country, like I talk to somebody, right away I know they're Canadian. Right away, they have to say anything, and or they say very little, and I can peg them off. So one of the times I went to Colombia, my buddy picks me at the airport. We're in his truck. We're driving from where the airport is in Rio Negro into Medellin, which is at that time was about a 45-minute drive. And he says, yeah, and a couple more Canadians got killed. And I'm like, oh, well, of course, what else is new, right? What happened? Well, two kids from Woodbridge, Ontario. Woodbridge, Ontario is a very Italian neighborhood, but my Italian friends always tell me it's kind of like the snobby Italian neighborhood. And so two guys from Woodbridge, guys in their 20s, I guess it was 20s, late 20s, land in Medellin. They get in a taxi, and they start telling the taxi driver, yeah, we want to find women and we want to find some drugs. You telling that to a taxi driver in Colombia? Who do you think kidnaps people? Like, who do you think is aligned with the cartels? That's them. And then they started telling about how much money they have. They can buy any hotel. They can buy anything in Colombia and blah, blah, blah. And they were dead within a week. And that you see that with Canadians all over the world because it's so safe here. People think they can say whatever they want. And, you have criminal elements all over. And there's listen, I worked as a bartender here. There's criminal elements and gangs and mafias all over the place. All over the place in Canada. Everywhere. Like Canada's the number one world. Did you know Canada's the number one country in the world for money laundering since Trudeau got into power? I bet you didn't know that. But anyways. So, love Canadians, but it's the rural Canadians with the brains. The people in the cities just sometimes... and that's why they can't see... what the truth is, Jesse. You can go around the rest of the world where people are still cynical. Like, what I love about Mexicans is everybody in Mexico knows their government's corrupt and full of crap. But Canadians in the cities, they just haven't got the memo yet. Like, it's so weird. It's so really funny. Okay, well, all right, let me get into this. Betty White says, I noticed Rebel News has... expanded quite a lot. Aren't Ezra and Keith Wilson law buddies? Yeah, they went to law school apparently together. Maybe that's where the Bitcoin went, that Keith can't remember where it's gone. You think Ezra Levant stole the Bitcoin? That would be funny. That would be very, very funny. Is that how they've expanded? Because there's Rebel News all over the place now, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. But that's quite comical and entertaining. But anyways, it is what it is. All right. So story number 4 on the top 10 stories from the Freedom Convoy. A small group led by a student who received $150,000 from MP Melanie Joly, who also has very concerning ties, launched a $450 million class action lawfare harassment suit against the Freedom Convoy organizers and a whole long list of people. Presumably these people prefer to wear masks their entire lives. Like, I don't know, is that what they want? They just want to wear a diaper the whole life? Like, okay, whatever. But yeah, I don't know if that case will ever get certified, but discovery will be fascinating. Absolutely fascinating, given what we know about some of them now at this point. All right, story number 3. The political class worked diligently to politicize the commission and ensure that... I wrote this down here. To ensure that many of us, or sure that none of us that wanted to tell the truth, got to tell the truth, got to tell the story of what happened, right? So they politicized the operation, both the parties did, to ensure that it was 2 competing political narratives, and we didn't get to testify. And as opposed to and what they wanted on the record was their fake narrative bullshit, right? Luckily, I slid through. Bridget testified. Pat King testified, and we may have some different perspectives because they were road captains. I was media, but if you start putting some things together, and you include Chris and Joe Jensen and Chad Eros and everybody else who wanted to testify but didn't get the opportunity because they were blocked by those chazers at the JCCF. You would have seen a very, very different commission. And, if I had the opportunity to have my lawyer, who I'll talk about in a second, cross-examine Mr. Wilson, that might have been very, very interesting. But it is what it is. The political class is going to do what they can to ensure We all swallow bullshit, and that's what they did. Okay, so, and the number one was that was number 3. Number 2. Sorry, I mixed 1 and 2. Is the fact that some of us were able to testify and tell the truth, and that's why I tell people the testimony is an interview process. There's a whole bunch of evidence that goes along with it. There was 109 pieces of evidence around my testimony, and some of those pieces of evidence, those documents, are many, many, many pages long. I don't know how many pages it was, but hundreds of pages, I guess, would be the amount of evidence that was submitted in testimony for mine, including that video of what that guy, Hurt Locker Tom, yelling at all the freedom fighters on Canada Day. If you haven't seen that video, go to, who has it? The National Telegraph uploaded that video, and we played it during the testimony. It was absolutely hysterical. There's your spokesperson. And number 1 for me, and maybe this is my bias coming out, and I do apologize, but number 1, I've released a book, Honking for Freedom, www.honkingforfreedom.com, where you all can see the truth about what went on, but it's all the positive stories. It's not this negative stuff that we've touched on. Negative, it's funny. It's funny that people think they get away with that stuff, right? But you have this book out there that you can now share with people who didn't necessarily support the convoy, to help reach them, to help wake them up. And I'm hoping that I'm doing a whole bunch of podcasts coming up in the new year, primarily in the United States. And I'm getting some requests from overseas and a bunch of, I don't know, I got to follow up with a wonderful person who has reached out, a bunch of radio stations as well across the U.S. to talk about this and the story and everything behind the convoy. And so I don't know. For me, that's number 1. But, perhaps I'm a little bit biased. So, but it's my platform, so I get to do that. But don't hate me for doing that. But you understand what my intentions are. I just want everybody to see the truth, and that's why in this book there's so many other stories beyond just mine. Like, it's not just my story. The story of Caribou, who was distributing the Bitcoin, those 2 chapters, and how heroes like Jeff Booth and Greg Foss and BTC Sessions, Ben, and a bunch of people kind of came together to try to help the truckers, knowing nothing about us, just understanding what we were trying to fight for, and that people just didn't have the acumen for understand payment processing in the financial system, that they wanted to give an alternative to at least get something to the truckers. So that's in there as well. So it's all good stuff, right? So it is what it is. Paula, Happy New Year, freedom fighters. Love, peace, health, and happiness. And to you as well, Paula, and to all of you for 2023. It's going to be a good year, I promise. I get this feeling it's going to be an amazing year. And there's going to be a lot of change on the horizon. So it's going to be great. I would have loved to cross-examine Keith on why his lawyers said they were going to jail, of which I have a text message I sent to Chris about the situation. And they're just incompetent. Like, they're just, like one of the lawyers, like Eva was running a yoga studio 18 months before, and she cross-examining the prime minister. Like, what the fuck? And of course, her statement at the end, now's the time to the prime minister to resign. I'm like, oh, you fucking retard. It's a legal proceeding. What is wrong with you? Because it was all staged. It was all theater. It's all emotion to, like, how they talk. We're here. You ask a question like I did, and I'm going to release this whole long form of this Twitter space, which is fascinating. Myself, Hurt Locker Tom, and Wilson, I'm going to upload it, and we're going to talk about it together. We'll do a watch out. I'm going to explain what's going on. Because anytime you ask a specific question of them, you ask specifically, like, I don't know, why wasn't it communicated to us that we could apply to get escrow money for our legal defense? And the response is always, this prime minister has been taking away our freedoms for, like, oh, get this shovel out again. The bullshit. It's constant. Right? But anyways, it is what it is. We'll talk more about that. That's going to be lots of fun when we do it. Oh, and the other story, I have a little asterisk, like, another little story. If we had lived in another era where media was somewhat truthful, I don't know. This should have been a story in itself. This was, I don't know, in the 70s or the 80s. The fact that a leader of a political party came on board and agreed to represent me as counsel in the commission. Like, that in itself is a huge story. Once you become a leader of a political party, you're a political leader. But the fact that we had formed a friendship, and I remember I called him and I said, hey, you want to be my lawyer? And he's like, what are you talking about? And I explained the commission and all that sort of stuff. We talked and whatever, because he was, purely set on politics and still is. Like, that's a big part of. But imagine if you were, I don't know, in the 1980s and was it Larry Grossman or Peterson or one of these people decides they're going to be counsel in a commission for this, event that was a global phenomenon. Like, the media, just that story in itself is a massive political story. Don't hear anything about it, do you? Because all our media is corrupt. All of it. It's crazy what's going on here. It's all corporatized and whatever. Marielle, Happy New Year, freedom fighters. Happy New Year to you as well. And I love you all. You guys are great. Thanks to all the Canadian truckers. You are true heroes of 2022. God bless each of you. Thank you very much. And Cheryl, you know how many times I hear that? I don't hear that in Canada, but I hear that in the States all the time. And it doesn't matter if I'm going down to Massachusetts or Jersey or Virginia, whatever. Sometimes people recognize me, or they'll understand we're Canadian. I'm a Canadian carrier because they see where the load is coming from. And you know how many times people have said to me, yeah, Canada, you guys are those truckers. When there's time just to kill. I'm like, yeah, that was me and a bunch of friends and whatever. And they're like, shut up, really? And then they start, what's your name? They type my name online. They're like, oh my God, let's have a picture and whatever. Like, they understand the importance of freedom and how vital it is. Hopefully Canadians understand a little bit more than they did prior to the convoy, why it is important and why this political class that we have, they all need to go, in my opinion, but whatever. Nothing will come from the commission. They will find Trudeau in the right. Then he will call an election, sadly. He will most likely get a majority. I don't think so. I think you're partially right. I don't think, well, if the Conservative Party got their head out of their collective ass, that wouldn't happen. But if they go on the trajectory they're going on right now, which is the same thing we've done the last two elections, yes, that will happen. So, and this is what I've been screaming about in the Conservative Party the entire time. I've never seen such gross incompetence from a communication standpoint and a messaging standpoint in my life in any organization. And, one of the companies I worked for a few years was Harley Davidson. You talk about a company that's just built on brand. The brand is the company. Without the brand, there's nothing. So I learned a lot about, marketing, strategic marketing, whatever. Like, I wasn't in a project management position, but, in part of that, was trained in marketing from a previous company, so I can see the strategies that they were using. Harley Davidson is the polar opposite of the Conservatives are like the most incompetent dumb fucks in the world when it comes to messaging and they shouldn't be elected just because of their incompetence. Like, conservatism became the new counterculture, and they want to turn in the liberals. Like, no, you idiots! You have it perfectly lined up for you. And just no matter how many times I would try to communicate that to the cult, it's like, no, we're going to do it this way. That's not the way we do politics. I'm like, yeah, winning elections, that's not how you do politics. Anyways, I'll talk more about Harley Davidson and my motorcycle past in another time. But anyways, where did you send it? Oh, you guys are you're all trading stuff now online? You guys are all awesome. Okay, so the Do I want to talking about this story now? Yeah, maybe I do. Oh wait, no, I don't. You know what? I only got 17 minutes until I got to be in front of John. Anyways, so there are. I saw Diverge Media was up here. There's Diverge Media. There's TNT and a bunch of other independent journalists who are doing deep dives into what the hell's been going on in 2022 around this Freedom Convoy, the commission, the people who came and sabotaged it, the people who meddled in it, all the, 11 groups or whatever it was that kept trying to take it over and all that sort of stuff. Like, what is going on? Are these people connected in some way and whatever? So there's a bunch of truly independent journalists that are doing deep dives into this. And I just got a little bit of a wind of what's going on. I don't know the full story. I'll find out when it comes out, like the rest of you do. But from what I understand, it's very, very concerning. And it makes Justin Trudeau seem ethical by comparison, like just really damaging stuff. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But that's likely going to come out, I guess, in 2023. But it'll be interesting because, there's no better thing than, well, I shouldn't say that, but something I think we need to aspire for is increased transparency across the board, not just with all politics, but within our media. And maybe that's the motivation behind this horrible Bill C-11, and just, our people in government are so incompetent that they're dangerous. But maybe their motives are just to add transparency, and they just have no clue how to do it. But maybe that's going to be the theme of media in Canada in 2023 is transparency. What's going on behind the scenes? Let's pull back the curtain a little bit and see how everything's working. I don't know. I hope so, but we'll see. But anyway, keep being feisty. BJ, it's entertaining. Well, I don't want to be feisty all the time. Sometimes you just want to... I want this, my primary is for this to be positive, that all of these things that we're talking about, these are all good things because we see the truth of what's going on, and we see the truth, and we can adapt for the future, and we can also prepare. So yeah, Canadians in our large metropolitan areas are extremely naive because it's always been so safe. Well, that's not a problem anymore, right? Now, crime is going through the roof, like because of idiots like that guy John Tory, the Rogers board member or whatever he is, who's also the mayor of the city, who's done nothing but bend over, like literally, like Ace Ventura, bending over for the progressives, communists in Canada, and doing whatever they say. It was why we have all these. I'm not going to get into city politics too much. But the fact that they've caused crime to skyrocket, well, you know what? Canadians are not in the cities are not going to be able to be so naive anymore and realize, hey, there's actually some dangerous things in life. You got to have your wits about you, right? So is that positive? I guess so, Why is feisty not positive? No, I know that. I just don't want people to interpret, sometimes you get feisty, people sometimes think you're angry, and I'm not angry at all. Like, I think things are amazing, and things are going to get so much better. They really are. And I think this year is going to have a lot of significant bumpy roads in it, but it's also going to be significantly positive, and I'm looking forward to it. He couldn't kill enough Canadians with lockdowns and jabs, and he had to get made and have us off ourselves. Yeah, it's completely crazy. Ben, I raised my kids that it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You're good. Yeah, well, I mean, it's also kind of, 80% of communication is nonverbal, something like that. And I don't know. I think we can have a lot of these negative things going on, but if we kind of look at things from a positive filter, then we'll be able to usher in positive change. Risa, there you are. Good morning and Happy New Year. Hoping the best this coming year. Hope the best for you and your family and all your friends in 2023, Risa. And hopefully you're orange pilling lots of people. Risa's one of the first people in this sort of space who I got to know who got into Bitcoin. Jesse, if you have questions, ask Risa, because Risa was in exactly your position when she started. When was it? I think it was when I was in Florida still, or I was in Colombia. It was in April or May, something like that, Risa. Anyways. Like drive-by shootings in a small community. Yeah, well, exactly. Anyways, that hopefully that will get people to shapen up and smarten up. But I think overall the year's going to be good because I think, and I was talking about this with somebody yesterday, that somebody who's in law enforcement, by the way, who was supportive of us and read my book and thought the book was amazing. So even cops are liking the book, which is great. And he said, what the Freedom Convoy did is it taught the political class a lesson that you have a line in the sand and you've just crossed it. And if you get close to that line again or try to cross it again, you're going to have a whole lot of shit right in front of your face and it's going to get much worse, right? That the people are not going to tolerate this nonsense anymore. And that's coming from somebody, and he's not saying this is his opinion. He's saying this is this is evident to anybody who is watching objectively that this is what the political class has learned. And this is also why Justin Trudeau is a lame duck prime minister. He's not taken seriously anywhere in the world. CBSA was not enforcing the mask mandates. That's why they eventually dropped it. They sort of mask mandates either. All the time I was driving during COVID, I had one person, tell me put on your mask when I drove up to the booth. So CBSA was not interested in policing this nonsense. The U.S. TSA as well. I was never asked one time for vaccine status. And that's why they dropped it, because they were losing control over the bureaucracy, and even the bureaucracy thinks that Prime Minister Blackface is a total loser and his entire regime. So that's the big lesson from 2022, that we told the political class that you now have a line that you will never cross. And I think they understand that, which is good. It's going to be positive for all of us. Now we got to get everybody unifying together. That's why I did Russell Brand's podcast. I did The Hill, which is not, I wouldn't call The Hill conservative. And I'm going to be doing Meghan Murphy. Definitely not conservative, but she's wonderful. She's such a sweetheart. I love her. May disagree with her on some stuff, but in general, she's, pro-freedom and all that stuff. And there's a lot of those people I'm having reach out to me who are on the political left, who I kind of disagree with on a lot of stuff, but they're pro-freedom and they want to talk and they want to unify. And that's what we got to do. Maybe that's going to be the theme for 2023 and an outcome from the convoy, which is we all start to unify and ignore the fake news media or partisan media and our political class, and they can then follow us, right? Trudeau is Biden's boy, and now everyone is seeing him for who he really is. I don't know if he's even Biden's boy. I think he's it's just kind of the global leftist structure that numerous NGOs, including the World Economic Forum, but they're not just them. They have this worldview, and I've had some people from, well, not the World Economic Forum, but people who are, how should you say, swim in those circles. Their people reach out to me and say, yeah, this has gone a little too far. Like I did an amazing podcast, I don't know when it's coming out, with Julian Newman. Really nice guy, progressive, former NDP, and even he said, okay, I've now lost control of my body to the government. His whole audience is on that side of that side of the political spectrum, but we found a lot of common ground. And yeah, there's things we're going to disagree with, of course. There's things I disagree with my parents, and you disagree with your family. But we can focus on aligning around freedom and autonomy, and not having this increased authoritarian creep in our lives. And that's what, my experience in communications has, I break all the rules in PR. Usually, sometimes I follow them, but that's why, because I do want to reach all those people, and I'm going to do my best. But despite the rest of the world abandoning these counterproductive protocols, Trudeau continues to advise Canadians to follow them. With the condescendingly smug smile on his face, he keeps pushing the same lies as if it's all got to sell. Very important thing to remember, Howard. Trudeau is not in charge. Trudeau is a Muppet. He's just a Muppet, right? Kermit the Frog. You saw the Muppets growing up. I love the Muppets. I was addicted to the Muppets. That's what Justin Trudeau is. There's no brain in that head. He is a Muppet. It's the 20 people in PMO that are controlling the government, and like everybody in politics, especially if this, all this corruption is uncovered in 2023, they all claim plausible deniability. Oh, that wasn't my organization. That was an organization of a friend of a friend. That's how they all operate, right? Trudeau's the same way. He's just a puppet. No, sorry, a Muppet is better. A Muppet is better. And so he doesn't know what he's saying. He just goes out. They tell him a rough talking point, what to say, and he says it. And that's about it. And I think it's worn on people. It's even worn on people on the other side of the political spectrum. And that's why they're reaching out to me, who I probably disagree with on a bunch of issues. But all right, so we disagree on some stuff. It happens. I was watching Russell Brand in the very episode that we were on. I wish I could have had more of a more conversation time with him, but he was busy and I was busy. But he was talking about some issues that I disagree with. I mean, I'm like, oh my God, no, it's but whatever. So we disagree. It doesn't mean I don't like him. I don't respect him and find him entertaining and find him valuable. We got to do more of that, and we got to get out of our silos. And I think if we do that in 2023, it's going to be an amazing year for all of us, and it'll be the freest year we've had in a long time. A couple more questions, and I got to run because I got to be there in 5 minutes. And Beth, for me, BJ's book signed by the author. Thank you so much for meeting with me to sign my book. It was my pleasure, and I took a couple of pictures. I think I put those pictures on Twitter, didn't I? Yeah, I did. I put them on Twitter when I met you. And thank you for meeting up with me. I did the same for Christine Kischunke and signed a bunch of your books as well. How did it go? Did people like their Christmas gifts? You didn't tell me. Did they like it, or were they upset? What did they think, or were they confused? What do you think? Mass, I've been told to wear one at my eye doctor appointment on Tuesday. I'm thinking you got to wear one on your eye like a pirate. Risa, do you think Mark Carney will come back to lead the Liberals when Trudeau is turfed? Should we be concerned? We should all join. Don't go crazy on me. I'm thinking strategy. Everybody who's not part of a party needs to join the Liberal Party to ensure that Mark Carney does not get control of that party. Doesn't matter. You find somebody who's reasonable, but take over that party the same way they take over the Conservative parties, right? They get all these liberal activists who join in and take over the Conservative Party, and then we're off a cliff liberal, with a conservative label. Maybe it's time we do the same to the Liberal Party. Everybody join the Liberal Party and ensure you block Mark Carney, because that will be the end of the country if somebody like that gets in control. Because he's very charismatic, he's very intelligent. Unlike Trudeau, he can actually form a sentence. And he really, it's like, there's also different car salesmen in the world. There's a guy who works, and this is not a dig at car salesmen, just at sales in general. There are people who sell cars, there are people who sell jumbo jets. And the people who sell jumbo jets are very, very polished and refined. But they're still just salesmen. And that's what Mark Carney is. And that would be very, very dangerous. You think the Liberals the Trudeau supporters can't think for themselves now? You put somebody like Mark Carney in front of them, and they'll follow him like a cult. So he's got to be iced out of this whole process as quickly as possible. Paula, disagreement makes for a healthy conversation. It makes for entertaining conversation, because that's how you exercise. How can I persuade people? How can we find common ground? How can we not? Like, the most boring conversations are when people agree with you 100%. The interesting conversations are when you disagree, right? So we got to do more of that. Bridget, I'm in chapter 9. Love the book and surprised by it so far. Bridget, you got a star for that. I told you you'd like it. I told you. And it's not too academic. Like, it's made for people who are readers, and it's made for people who are non-readers as well. So it should have a broad reach. And hopefully by the end of it, you'll agree that it's a good means to communicate to the other side, right? So, all right, I got to run because I'm already late for my meeting. And Kiss Junkie, love you. My aunt's box, this is from Beth. My aunt's box was to be out for delivery on Friday, but didn't happen. I hope she gets it Monday or Tuesday. Okay, so when we get her books, let me know what they think if they're happy with it, all right? And Christine says, my brother hasn't gotten his yet. Best friend and daughter, super happy, thank you. That's awesome. Cool. All right. And Betty White, Resurrected, said, I read it in 4 hours. Ha, ha, ha. Amazing. On that note, I love you all. I got to run. Have an amazing new year. We'll talk tomorrow again. Let's talk about how your New Year's was last night. Go have fun. Go party. Go do whatever you're doing. And I'll probably be working, to be entirely honest. But we will talk, and hopefully you step into a new year of enlightenment and where life is going to turn the better for all of you. And despite some of the negative stuff we went through this year, we'll put it behind us. And let's focus on 2023 being the most positive year of your life. All right, I got to run.